Hi, and welcome to a special episode of the OotiniCast. I'm your host, Chill, and with me is my co-host, KittyKissz. Hi, Kitty.
Hello, Chill.
And today we've got the other Kitty here too. Hey, KittyTreets, how you doing?
Hey, I'm doing great.
All right, we are thrilled and excited to have with us today one of the wonderful voices that makes SWTOR so immersive, Tasia Valenza. Tasia Valenza voices SWTOR's Kaliyo Djannis, the anarchical companion to your Imperial agent character, as well as a number of other characters such as Cortani, the final boss in the Ravagers operation. She's also voiced for other Star Wars projects, playing Tawny Ames in Season 2 of The Bad Batch, Shaak Ti in The Clone Wars, Vanessa Doza in Star Wars Resistance, and Aura Singh all the way back in Star Wars Galactic Battlegrounds and Star Wars Demolition in 2000-2001. She's also been the voice of Poison Ivy multiple times recently, including the Arkham Asylum games, Injustice 2, and even Lego DC Supervillains.
Got that one. That's very impressive.
Yeah. One of her most famous roles is that of Sniper Wolf from the Metal Gear Solid game series.
Oh, yeah.
And while her on-screen and voiceover career has been so extensive we barely touched on it, she has also been teaching others how to use their voice more effectively, professionally and in everyday life, where you can find her on givegreatvoice.com. We are very happy to introduce Tasia Valenza. Tasia, welcome to the show.
Thank you. That is a wonderful and warm, and I'm going to introduction. So thank you so much for covering a plethora of my background.
Oh, we appreciate you being here. We were very excited. We've done a lot of interviews on the OotiniCast over the years. Most of them have been with like the dev team who are actually working on the game behind the scenes. But this is our first professional SWTOR voice actor on the show, and I'm so excited that you're here. Gosh.
Glad to be here. That's wonderful.
Thank you. And I think Kitty actually wants to ask the first question. So Kitty, what do you want to ask today?
I get the first one. Okay. Well, first, Tasia, thank you for being here. And the first question that we have is, how did you get the Star Wars The Old Republic gig to voice Kaliyo Djannis?
Well, I would love to say that it's a very glamorous. I was sitting in a coffee shop and I was discovered there, but it was just a good old-fashioned audition through my agency. I've been blessed to be with the same agents for almost, 27 years or so.
Nice.
And formerly ICM, but DPN, and they have an amazing animation department. And I just auditioned and got the part, and away I went.
That's awesome.
That's great. And when you did Kaliyo Djannis, did you have any influences in mind, or how did you make the character?
Yeah, well, she is definitely a very male energy, shall we say, a lot of masculine energy.
Yeah.
Right.
And I loved her, because she's like a femme fatale, but something that I really wanted to kind of give her the benefit of something that I had seen. I saw a movie called The Last Seduction with Linda Fiorentino, and she
Right.
has a very similar just take no prisoners energy, and I loved her. So I did kind of use her as my prototype of when Kaliyo just made those awesome liners. It was like I was channeling Linda, and then of course some of my own, but she was definitely influenced, and people may not have seen this movie, but it's actually a really cool early, I don't think it's early 2000s or maybe even earlier. It has Bill Pullman and Peter Berg, and it's a great kind of a mystery, not really a mystery, but as she literally takes them on a ride, but
like a noir. Yeah, it's noirish.
Yeah, very noir. So I liked her, and kind of jumped off with Kaliyo using her.
That's great. I love hearing the inspiration for characters that almost, you wouldn't think that that's where the inspiration for that character came from. It's very interesting. I'll never look at Kaliyo the same.
Yeah, well,
yeah.
I don't always take references, but she was just like really in my mind, and I was like, oh, that's her, and I'm gonna just use her as like jumping off point. And if you go back and see the movie now, you'll have to get back to me and let me know.
Right, sort of a take what she wants sort of character is what you were looking for.
Very much so, with no regrets, straight till the end. That's both Kaliyo and the character Linda Fiorentino played. there was never a moment of like, oh, she's really getting soft. No.
Right. No.
Never
Straight
happened.
as an arrow.
Yeah.
Okay, when you voice an extra character in SWTOR or other games, do you know them ahead of time, or do they reach out to you and ask you to do that during the production?
Most of the time, even with Kaliyo's lines, it's really in the session. So you do have to fly
Oh man.
pretty fast and
Awesome.
furious. Yeah. So it's one of those things that we just play with a character and get some tone ideas, and then I remember them saying, "Yep, that's the one. Let's go with that." So it's really, that is when a voice actor for many video games, you really have to be sharp and able to kind of get into your tool bag of different characters and hope those adjectives and enough of the description kind of gives the voice print some life, and then
Right.
you tweak it a little bit and you go. So that's it.
It's got to be
so it's
weird to see it after, to see it or listen to it afterwards, because you do it in so many different pieces and it's not necessarily in order.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
It's in that order. Although
That makes sense. Yeah.
Kaliyo, well, they basically have to give you, what happens is they'll just give you a description of the scene and
Okay.
a little bit of the background of what's going in. And then again, you're kind of thrust into the make believe and doing it, but not always. When you see it afterwards, it's like, oh, that's cool. It makes more
Right.
sense.
Right.
But, they have, the writers are incredible, the directors are incredible. I always want to give props because we get so much of the credit, but without the animation, without the writing, without the words, without the great direction,
Right.
we are left to our own devices. It's really about serving the piece, and it all starts with great words.
It does sound like you are sort of trusting the writing, but also the directors, where they give you some hints as to what the scene's about, and like you said, and then I guess it sounds like they're also telling you like you've got it, or let's move on, or whatever, when they do have the right take. So you are trusting that they know what they're looking for, or that they can see something good when they see it. Yeah, exactly. Well, right, exactly. More to the point. So, and is this exactly when you did like for Kaliyo and for SWTOR, was it very much like any other voice acting job, or was it a little different for SWTOR, and if so, how?
Well, actually, in video games versus animation series, video games, you tend to be alone, and you get a series of 3 or 2 tries of the line. So it does move fairly quickly. And in my experience, for most video games, you get an A, B, or C, and that's 3 in a row. And then they move on, or they ask you to do it again to tweak it. So that's very
That
much
makes sense.
consistently. Yep.
Okay.
And then again, describing each setup, and then just the lines. And a lot of times there's also a visual description of even sometimes the projection, how loud, how or again, emotional, a little upset, it'll say on the side. So the directors also interpreting what the writers have. So it's really, again, the collaboration of that. And then in an animated series, especially with Lucas, they are really wonderful about bringing in the cast as much as possible. So you're playing off the cast, and you're not alone. So that's the main difference.
Okay.
Most video games. I think there's only been one video game that Microsoft did, which was that it was a flying air flying black way back in the day, and it was very rare that we assembled the cast to speak. But otherwise, for video games, all the Arhkam Asylums, it's just you and the directors and the writers,
right?
Producers. Some are online, some are in person, but you are basically alone.
And for the SWTOR sessions, were those always at were you in a building with the directors, or were you doing it virtually?
I would always travel to the studio, or a studio. And sometimes most of the directors were in person. Sometimes it would be partly online and partly in person, depending on the situation. But they were mostly in person.
Right.
Next question. Do you enjoy returning to characters after multiple years? And what's your process for getting back into a character after a long break?
I love always being asked. Of course, it's always an honor when a character is asked to come back. So that's always I'm pretty good. Once I've played a character, they all kind of live in me. I feel like I try to take the best of them and input them. And if I watch a scene from a character that I've played and I just kind of start lip syncing or speaking the scene along with it, I kind of just come back to her. So yeah, it's kind of a print that's in me, and then I can basically just go back and revisit it and kind of just embody it all over again. It's just great to have a scene or even an audio scene, and then once I'm kind of reliving it voice wise, it all comes back.
Right. So you just like watch a scene with Kaliyo, and then pretty much you could just do a new scene with Kaliyo if you had to.
Pretty much, yeah.
That's cool.
That's awesome. Really cool.
It is great, and luckily my voice is held up as well, so I'm able to still play, and it's matured, but I can still kind of jump back into a character. Sniper or wolf, I can still sound, and that was 20 something.
Awesome.
Yeah, that was late 90s. So
I've been lucky, knock on.
Right. I think that
good hell, and I've been able to create characters and recreate them easily.
That makes sense, because like we have, there's like crooners who stay on stage, into their 70s and 80s and stuff like that. So it is sort of fortunate if you have a good solid, body of voice work that you can continue to do that.
Yeah, and a lot of it is about how you care for your voice and overall, because again, certain things can definitely be detrimental. So all the singers and that are still like my aunt just went to see Rod Stewart, and he's still killing it. Like, how old is he? And he's still doing it, and the Rolling
awesome.
So it can be done, and it's a lot about taking care of your vocal cords and your body.
I can just picture Rod Stewart singing "If You Want My Body and You Think I'm Sexy."
Yeah, you have a very tonality of Rod with that little rasp there.
Oh, stop it.
Did when COVID came along, did that change voice acting for you in any way?
Interestingly, it did, in that way of one of my sessions for Bad Batch. We actually had to do our first virtual session for that. And that was every other time with Lucas, I had always gone in.
Yeah.
Funny, because it was COVID, they arranged it how to have everybody in there. And then we Zoomed it. But we were still fortunate enough where they assembled the cast, and we weren't just
right. So you're still doing the face-to-face sort of as best you could. That is cool.
So it did change it. Other than that, some of the, even for doing video games, I would have to do them from home. So thankfully, we are now able to go back to studios, and that's pretty cool. So, but it was definitely different, but they hacked it and they did a great job with it and workarounds, and it was still, as an actor, it's really wonderful and meaningful when you have the privilege of playing off somebody. It's just gift that we have to be grateful for. So
acting as reacting is sort of a famous trope. Yeah,
it is. And there's something, because it changes the mood. If you change the line, then I'll respond differently. And otherwise, there's a lot of the imagination of how you would respond differently. And we do that as, again, you hear incredible roles from video games where they didn't have the benefit of that, and the nuances are fantastic. But as actors, we are so much more blessed when we have the blessing of playing off of somebody.
Well, that answered my question. But I do have another question. Do you have an in-home studio that you have just for doing vocal stuff?
Yes, I call it
That
my
is cool.
closet. Closet/studio. It's a large, this is my office where I teach. And
Mhm.
down the hall, I have a big walk-in closet. And I was going to put my booth in my office because I could have assembled it. But when I realized at the end of the day that that closet has a beautiful window at the end, and it's huge. And for as many hours as we spend in our booths,
Mhm.
to have the ability to see a tree, which in my other house I didn't have that. It was just like four walls around me.
Mhm.
I was like, I'm going in there, and so I was able to create.
That's nice.
Yeah, so it's a blessing that I have a studio slash. It's not again your typical booth, but it works, and I'm grateful to be in there and still get some light.
Nice.
That's awesome because you can see nature.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Especially-
it's just like looking off to the left. I'm like, oh, a tree in the sky, and then I'm back to but it replenishes. It feels. I mean, you guys know. I mean, when you're inside all day,
Oh yeah.
it's tough. You just
Yeah.
you need to connect to the outside. So it helps me to give great voice, but
Oh yeah.
do it for long periods of time and not feel like
Because you're right, because you're a little grounded. You're not
yeah.
floating in out in the ether.
Well, not to mention, if you ever play a tree, you will have an inspiration.
Exactly.
Which I mean, as poison ivy, certainly
There we
it
go.
definitely inspires me to see that.
That's right.
I love to see my tree, my babies. So that's
And
Precious.
so what made you first want to act? And then also, how did you transition to the voice acting?
yes. Well, I always joke that I'm a recovering actress and a fully functioning voiceover artist. I acted on camera for the first 10 years of my career, 12 years, and then overlap about 6 years. And then I jokingly say that my therapist mentioned that my mental health was going up in proportion to the amount of voiceovers I was doing. I was like,
There's something to that.
yeah, you mean I'm not being told that I'm not enough of this? I'm not thin enough,
Right.
tall enough, or blonde enough, or all the enoughs that the on-camera world throws at you on top
Demands.
of it. Yeah. And so the
Yeah.
more voice acting I did, the more I was like, wow, I'm free. That's why I love writing it, because it's, we all get boxed in, right? Well, you're not this and you don't look like that. And you can't play this because visually, and I understand. I mean, that you want to leave the character, and that's partially, but that was such a liberating fact. So I started when I was 15, and I was cast in a movie, and then I was on All My Children, and then I came out to LA, and I did all the fun bad 80s series and 90s series, like the A-Team and Highway to Heaven. I'm aging myself now.
Fame.
Awesome.
Fame.
Love that.
Yeah. And then I started doing animation for voiceovers and voice acting and Leisure Suit Larry, which I'm really dating myself.
Oh my.
Zoning I played. So I started doing these fun characters for video games on top of commercials and promos and narration. And then I got a chance to be on another soap. And then I did 12 weeks on that, and I realized I'm done. And then
done.
And you just kind of waved them goodbye and said thank you, and that was that. Nice. It's funny. It's interesting. I hadn't really thought of it so much, but Kaliyo, Poison Ivy, Leisure Suit Larry, and Sniper Wolf. There's a lot of very sexy, sex positive or sexually aggressive, however you want to define characters.
Strong women, I'd like to say.
Yeah, exactly.
Strong female energy. How's that?
Yeah,
like
There we go.
I take it as a positive of the energy that I can convey that. So that's a good thing.
Absolutely.
Do you remember your first gig in as a voice actor?
Yes, actually I do.
Was it?
Because it was, oh my God, I remember because I was at the gym, and back then we had to have pagers because we didn't have,
Right.
and it was two, with the code was 2, call back when you can, 22 is like, yeah, I'll call back sooner than later. And 222 was like, oh, you got a job. And
Yeah.
gym, and I don't think I was looking at my pager. And then I looked at it, I was like, oh my gosh, it's 222. And it's a job. And I was like 6 months after I was with my agent. So I'd been auditioning for 6 months without anything. And it was a Blockbuster. So that was like
Oh, wow.
good old radio for Blockbuster, which
Nice.
again, it's
awesome.
no longer around, but that was like my first job. And then from there,
That's great though.
started.
I was wondering, yeah, because on IMDb, the first voice job shows as Batman the Animated Series, which is a great series, of course. And you played Miriam, who was like sort of the bodyguard / mother figure for Baby Doll in the Baby Doll episode, which is like, despite the fact that Baby Doll is not like, a Joker or a Penguin or someone that's sort of an ongoing character, for a single episode villain, like she's really well known. Like a lot of people who watch the animated series will remember Baby Doll because it's such an unusual character. And then you played Miriam, who's sort of like I said, bodyguard, sort of mother character, and she actually fights Batman and does well at it
I
too.
haven't seen it, and so
Yeah. Oh yes.
Okay, what has been your favorite character to play overall, if you have one?
Oh, that's like asking me my favorite children.
I know. How about a Mount
I can't tell you
Rushmore?
on.
A Mount Rushmore of your favorite characters.
Yeah, well, I do love playing strong, again, women that feminine energy. I don't want to say just women with feminine energy like Poison Ivy, not a woman, but she's but yeah, they're wonderful in that I feel like when I get to play a Jedi, I mean, how
Shaak
cool is
Ti!
that, right?
Yeah, right. And Shaak Ti's, very, very strong without being sexualized. So
And super
Yeah,
confident.
Yeah.
I think it's really about the energy of confidence and empowering. So I
yeah,
love all of them, and they're all different colors of the spectrum. The same kind of, a lot of grounded energy and a lot of again, that inner confidence that I enjoy. So I take a little of each one, and I love each one for Sniper Wolf and Poison Ivy and Shaak Ti. And I loved Vanessa Doza because she was like a badass who happened to be a mom. So that was the first thing. They don't have a lot of Star Wars moms, and to be able to embody again a very strong, powerful, energized, courageous woman, much more than I.
right.
Yeah, me too.
Right. Well, that's the thing, is that I recognize, like, gosh, these characters are far more brave than I'll ever be. But if I can play that and give great voice to that, and maybe I can take a little of that with me. So for each one, I've been blessed enough to play. I take something from them, and I admire a lot of what their characters.
Yeah, we were watching. Kitty and I were watching Bad Batch, and Kitty goes, "That's Tasia." Go, is it?
Oh,
Goes,
really?
Yes. So we watched the credits, and when it was you, we go,
oh, that's great. Thank you. Yeah. So again, Tony Hayes, I think she's a shero. I mean, she gives her life for her people, and
Yeah, it was so awesome.
yeah. So I feel very, and I mean, props to Lucas Arts for keeping me coming back. I'm so grateful to them, and an incredible team, incredible talent, and just an honor to be able to give life to these multifaceted roles.
Yeah, you do an amazing job.
Yeah, the SWTOR devs recently announced that a character that the player base had a choice at one point in the story to kill off, and they're actually going to, and normally that sort of signaled the end of that character. Like they sort of, historically, when a character could have been killed off, even if it wasn't 100%, they usually didn't bring the character back after that. Like it was usually, it's because it's kind of complicated. It's like they have to figure out a reason, like, how do we handle this for the players who did kill the character versus the ones who didn't? How are we going to deal with that? And so they haven't really done that a lot, but they did say that they're going to do that now with one of the characters that a good number of the player base would have killed off, and only a fraction would have killed off Kaliyo, although it is possible. And so it has been a little while since we've seen Kaliyo, but it feels like it's now more possible that she could come back. So if she came back, I assume you'd be all excited about doing that?
Absolutely.
Yay!
From your lips.
Yeah.
That's right.
Towards ears. So
Yeah, to the
back
right, exactly.
Bring back
Yeah.
Kaliyo.
Absolutely.
I miss playing her because she's such a one-liner lady. Like whenever I saw some of her lines, I was like, that's amazing that I get to say that. They're so dark and funny and witty and dark, just
Yeah.
That's what I like about them. I think they're funny.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's
I
an
love
actor.
so much of it.
Great to say something that you, in real life you would never have the courage to say, and then it's like,
Right.
Yeah.
he says it good.
Uncensored.
Like a rapier. Yeah.
Yeah, rapier witch, witch.
Yeah.
That's right. She doesn't hold back. I like that about her.
She's
Yeah.
unapologetic. Let's just
Oh,
say.
she's not.
Not even a little bit.
Yeah.
But yeah. So with the awesome voice and giving great voice, I'm a huge, huge fan of your Give Great Voice. I think it's amazing.
Mm-hmm.
I like that you're taking the skills that it takes to be a voice actor to just use in your everyday life. I wanted to know what gave you that idea to create that and coach people on that. That's
a great question. I think it was very much of an evolution of recognizing that something as actors and voiceover actors, we're especially voiceover actors. I mean, acting, again, communication is a compilation of body language, tone, and words. But they say that only 20% are the actual words when you're communicating. Right. The rest is
I've heard that.
The body language and the tone. And so as an actor, I was keyed into my voice, but once I became a voice actor, I was recognizing that all day long I was being fed different roles with different characteristics, different adjectives to help create that role of the loving mother or the confident saleswoman or the poisonous seductress Ivy and founded Jedi Shaak Ti. And the voice becomes a musical instrument that you understand that with a tone changes the experience of what the person's receiving. And to be able to use that in my everyday life successfully, which again, I'm the first one to admit I don't always do.
Right.
As my husband and children will attest to. I don't always give my voice. But I came up with this notion that when you give great voice, you can move, touch, and impact another person.
Yeah.
Or a ton of people. And the more digital communication was taking over at the same time, the more I said, wow, people aren't growing, my kids aren't growing up talking and using their voices as much and seeing what a powerful tool. Maybe I can share, and a TEDx seemed like a best way to kind of do that, what it means to give great voice and how we can understand that we're multifaceted people. We play roles. Like right now, you guys podcasters. This is
absolutely. Yeah.
And you might speak differently, right? When you're talking to each other privately or with your cats or with your loved ones and if we could understand that and I could help other people recognize the power of their voice and empower them to use them as opposed to our lovely digital communication.
Right.
The world might be better off. And so that was my reasoning for doing it. And it's been something that the TED Talk launched it, and I continue to coach and teach.
I
Yeah.
love it.
I'm doing
was-
more.
Just the
That's fun.
videos that you've posted on YouTube and on Instagram, I've watched all of them. They've helped me a great deal in my work meetings and just slowing down and trying to hear myself a little bit more so I know what kind of voice I'm putting out there. It's
Right.
awesome. So I appreciate that, and I thank you for that. Just
Yeah. I actually learned
Awesome.
quite a bit too. I noticed that when you say that when you speak with an intention,
Yes.
your voice naturally follows that intention, and that makes so much sense to me because it is sort of a natural thing, but that you can also use it. It's both natural, but it's also a tool that you can use consciously. And so I find that like when I am now speaking with intention, it helps me over just trying, like I'm very much like a logical sort of that sort of brain person type of, like if I'm not paying attention to the intention, I will sort of just get the words out there in the order that I think is right, but I need to actually add the intention to really make it more powerful. And the nice thing about that is it also works on me backwards, because by making me think about my intentions more, it also makes me think about like what my role is, what I'm doing, and being in that moment, as opposed to just talking, in sort of a right-brained, logical sort of way. So I thank you for that.
Yes, and that's a brilliant way to again encapsulate of both of you that most of us, if we're not singers or speakers or actors, we don't think about our voices as the tool. But back to the communication, that if we actually process auditorially more quickly than we do. So the first thing is the words are going through the audio, the ears, and the ears are saying, I like this tone, I don't like this tone, this tone is boring, this tone, and then processing of the words come after the fact. So
Yes.
it's an unconscious experience, but we really, if I give you an example, that for people that we love, as soon as we hear their voice on a phone and they say, or I always joke that my husband knows exactly how I feel about him as soon as I say his name.
Right.
Harvey. Oh, everything's good. Everything good. Harvey. Doesn't matter if I say, did you pick up the dry cleaning? Did you pick up the dry cleaning? It's the tone that he's responding to. Yes,
Right.
oh,
You're right.
Right.
Yeah.
So
that's so cool.
Understanding that, then we get to think of ourselves like multifaceted, magnificent, beautiful souls that we all are, and recognize, how am I going to, the 4 questions we can leave with your viewers. And of course, if they want to watch the TED Talk, that kind of spells it out. But if you think about it, as you are multifaceted, think about yourself as the character of a voiceover, an animated character, or in your own life. What role am I playing? Am I the friend? Am I a sister? Am I the brother? Am I the CEO? Am I the coworker? What role am I playing right now? Employee, boss. Who am I speaking to? Again, just like the actor, we have to understand, like as Poison Ivy, if I'm talking to Batman, it might be different than I'm talking to my plants, One's a little bit more loving, one's a little bit more seductive, but maybe, to end up being very aggressive, right? So, and then what do I want? What emotion would I like this person to feel with my words? What again, intention. Then what's the word of intention? Do I want to make them calm? Do I want to excite them and get them energized? Do I want to annoy them? Again, if we're unconscious about it, we might be doing it more than we realize.
Right. You're doing it anyway. Yeah.
Also,
and then number 4 is, how does my voice and tone support that intention? So if we think about that, who am I? Who am I speaking to? What do I want? What's the success of this moment, this scene, this experience for all parties? And how does my voice and tone support that intention? Then the words have a lot more ability to hit both heart and mind. And that's what we want.
Right.
Exactly. Also, I mean, I feel like the better you are at communicating to other people, the more you feel heard, which is something that a lot of people, I don't think, feel like they're being heard. So
Right.
mwah, chef's kiss. I love it.
So it's so good.
Yeah. So what projects are you working on that you'd like to promote?
Right now, I actually I'm in between things that I can't share about.
Right.
Fair enough.
That's always something. And
You
I
won't tell anybody.
I know, I actually did that on my early podcast where I was like, oh, okay, I could tell you. And then I got
Right.
Oopsies. I
It
bet.
was just like a learning curve of like, okay,
Right.
you cannot buy that. But I'm starting to teach again more. I had taken a year off this last year of teaching animation and teaching, giving great voice. And I am starting to do that more again. So I'm going to be working
Excellent.
on that. And yeah, and I'm also I'm always doing commercials and promos and narration. I work for Hallmark, and I have a fun Geico spot that's coming out, and
That's awesome.
Yeah, it's cool.
yeah, it's a really fun one. It was I was on last year, but they're bringing it back, and we shifted it, changed it a bit, and there's always something in the voiceover world that again is random, but for animation and such, you can never really share it until it's out. So I'm gonna be excited to share it when it comes out, but in the meantime, working on my projects and bringing possibly my meditation app back that I had called
I was going to ask about that.
Yeah, I was working on it with a partner, and then they had to fold. But right now, my affirmation meditations are on my Tasia Valenza website. So if people want to hear me in their ears, helping them
Excellent.
give great voice to themselves, which is again, we really build that inner confidence. How are we speaking to ourselves? Then we can have much more confidence to go out into the world. So I have some affirmation meditations that are available, and I'm working on getting that back out as an app and things like that.
That's nice.
Well, with that being said, what social media is best for fans to find you at?
Oh yeah, speaking of which, I am going to be doing a fan-based MGS con, Metal Gear Solid con.
So nice.
That's going to be the first of its kind, coming up, I believe it's July 15th. So people should be looking for that. We're going to be live and in person signing. So that's been coming up. Yeah.
That's great. So Sniper Wolf fans will be flocking to you.
Yeah. So if you want to meet Sniper Wolf and many of the other cast in person here in LA, there's, I'm sure, details that you can find out. And then for social media, I'm on Instagram, I'm on Twitter. I'm basically on pretty much everything. TikTok, and what else am I on? Twitter, Facebook, pretty much
YouTube.
Pretty much everywhere. Yes, lots of good stuff on YouTube for sure.
Yeah, so pretty much on all of them, so people can reach out, and fans would love to have them come and check out the MGS. And I'm actually also going to be in a con in Connecticut, signing in July. Nice. So I really would like to do more cons and get to meet the fans in person. And since cons are back, so for any fans that want to meet me, tell your con that you want Poison Ivy or Shaak Ti or Kaliyo or
right.
I will.
Yeah.
On it.
On it.
Love to come to your city.
That's right.
With a con. Where are you guys all based?
Portland, Oregon.
We're all near Portland, Oregon. Yeah.
Oh, well, I would love to come to Portland, Oregon.
Hey.
That's a great idea.
That'd be awesome.
Tell your con.
We will do that.
And I will be there.
Rose City. Yeah. Well, thank you so much, Tasia, for coming. This has been so wonderful. I just can't express how much fun I've had.
We've been all antsy in the pantsy all day.
Yes. Oh my gosh.
So
I woke up so early this morning.
I'm so excited that you enjoyed it. I enjoyed it very much. And it was just a delight to be able to share with you. And honestly, Kaliyo does not get as much attention.
She doesn't.
As some of the other characters. So I delight that you guys wanted to put a focus on her. So thank you.
Yeah. I even wore the SWTOR shirt for you today.
Yeah.
Check it out. Model it.
Let's bring her back. Come
bring
on.
back Kaliyo.
Oh, yeah.
Bring Kaliyo back.
Campaign starting tomorrow.
Well, thank you again, Tasia. You have been wonderful.
Yes.
Thank you. It's my honor.